just want to introduce myself. My name is Sean Mahaney. I am the CEO, founder of Tactical RC, and up until recently, uh, just this past July, actually, I was an officer in Minnesota, just a little bit south of Minneapolis, and I was an officer for 11 years. I came up with the idea for what we call the 4Sight while I was working as a patrol officer back in 2019. Essentially, it resulted from using my agency's tactical robot during just a standard patrol call, a burglary of an apartment. I left that call seeing the many benefits to just a simple robot for patrol officers, something that's just not out there, not used, and definitely not affordable. So every alarm, burglary, welfare check, domestic, mental health crisis call, everything that we've normally always just gone headfirst into, because that's how we've always done it. Now we can use a robot, the 4Sight. So obviously, law enforcement has changed over the last few years, so it's just a different thing, and we have to adapt. So right from the get-go, one of the biggest things that with robots is that when people see them, they automatically think that they're just a tactical tool for SWAT teams only, and that they're incredibly expensive. That is not what this is. So this is the 4Sight vehicle. So one of the big things is that it's designed for patrol officers. Everything in this is designed with the patrol officer in mind. It was field tested. I prototyped for 2 solid years while on patrol, so it's been through a lot, been through all the very common scenarios that we encounter every day on patrol. So right from the beginning here, basically a carry option. So if you'll see a sling attachment on the back side of it. One of the things, knowing, especially for myself, my partners, you get out of your squad, you don't have the equipment you need, you go up to an apartment or it's a long walk. Typically, you're not going to walk all the way back to your squad to get it. So I knew that a carry option had to be something incorporated into it. So using something as simple, just as a standard rifle sling, my guys would just leave it right there in the passenger seat. When they leave, they can just sling it over their shoulder, sits on their back. It's only 11 pounds. So basically duty belt's free. They can do what they got to do. If they find that they need it, they can just unsling it, pair up a camera, and send it in to wherever they need it to go to. One of the big things too is that the way that I was able to make this affordable is that essentially all those super complicated, sophisticated camera systems that are incorporated into all the tactical robots, I removed those, and essentially it utilizes the body cameras, cell phones, action cameras like GoPros that agencies already have, are already paying big bucks for, and are already great cameras with live streaming capability. So essentially using something like a phone on the front, a body camera. This was our primary, at my agency, we had the Axon. So primarily we use this, but we have a lot of agencies just using FaceTime. So essentially being able to just use the technology that you already have. So very simple. I tried to make this about as cop proof as I could possibly get it, from the durability to just the ease of use. So to start, basically you just have a power button, kind of difficult to see there, but in between the tires, you'll notice the lights start to blink. So it's got the front headlights here, top LEDs, bottom LEDs. So the cameras that we have, they don't have night vision, a lot of the body cameras and such, but they have great vision at night just due to the quality of the camera. So basically all you do is get that fired up, power on the remote, and the remote is about as simple as it gets as well. Basically all it is the power button in the middle, the directional joystick there, which controls obviously your directions as well as speeds, toggling between a slow and a fast mode. And then you'll see the buttons, and all those are lights. So you have a forward facing light, bright. Then you have bottom lights. Then you have top lights, and you have all. So just As you can tell, it's daylight here, but it's sufficient. It's plenty bright light. So again, like I had said, there's two different speeds. It starts off in what we call a slow, and I'll be providing a demonstration here shortly, but starts off in what we call slow or crawl mode, because obviously the locations that we go to typically, they're not very clean. So being able to handle, get up and over things, push things, just basically be able to handle the environments that we go into. Slow mode is best used if you're trying to maneuver. It's a lot easier to steer, maneuver around objects. But if you need a little extra power, you need to push a door, you need anything like that, all you would do is basically just click in, little icon appears, and now you're in fast mode. And I can show you the difference here in a bit. So again, going with just simple and easy to use. As you can see, based on the build, if it flips over, it just keeps on going. The controls auto adjust, so you don't have to worry about left is right, right is left. Essentially what we say is anybody that's, anybody from the Atari generation to the Xbox generation can use it. It's that simple. There's no required training, licensing, registration. Essentially right out of the box, if anybody's driven an RC car, they can drive this. So envisioning going to, let's say an alarm, for instance, you're going to clear a building. Typically, obviously, hopefully we have at least 2 officers. If you have shields, or, some agencies obviously don't. But in the past, it was basically, we just go ahead first. Now, an officer either using their body camera, cell phone, can affix this to the front, pull up their live stream, be able to stream it directly to a cell phone, similar to a drone, where it just sits up there so you can see the live stream in front of you. And like at my agency, basically those alarms where we were always clearing those corners with our own heads, we would have, first officer out with lethal force, second guy's trailing behind him, operating the robot's positioned, 30, 40, 50 feet in front of us, and just hitting those hard corners. So also a big thing with ours, obviously the cost is significantly less. The one that we had at my agency that started at $16,000, and it was just this teeny little 2-wheeled thing. So significantly more affordable. But also one of the things that drove us nuts was that if something breaks down, you had to ship it away. It's gone for 3 months, and then they send you a bill for $5,000. I wanted to make sure that this thing was affordable on the front end as well on the back end. So if something breaks, you have a tire brake, a front mount brake, a motor brake. There's 4 independent motors in here, and that's for the redundancy. Basically, if you have a lot of tracked robots or 2-wheeled robots, only have 2 motors, and one of those motors goes down, you're going in circles. And so with having 4 motors mid operation, one of them goes down, you're still in. And then after the fact, the part of the affordability is that that's all repairable, replaceable, and again, affordable. The simplicity of this, basically, even to change a motor, which I think we charge only like $70 for motors, basically just pulling off the top, pulling off the tire. It's one wire lead that you connect together. You pull out the old one, connect the new one, put the top back on, and you're back in. Same thing goes with the tires, the front mount, all of this stuff. It's stuff that we can send to you to help keep that affordability. So as far as durability, so the body is constructed of carbon fiber. It has a 4-corner shock absorption system. And then obviously, besides the tires being oversized, they take a lot of the hits, but all the internals as well are on shock absorption. So easily can go downstairs. You can throw it upstairs. We get a lot of questions about that. Can it go upstairs by itself? It can't, but we would just throw it. So, if you're doing a search, you encounter stairs. You can push up the stairs as far as you feel safe. We would do it with the shield, and then our second guy would just toss it up. You'll notice on the sides here, these, we call them wheel kicks. Basically, what it does is if the vehicle was to land on its side, you just flip it into fast mode, it gets it off kilter, rights itself, and keeps going. So some of the other specs on it, So battery life, battery was another big thing that we dealt with our previous robots. The previous one did not have swappable batteries. So basically you had to plug in the whole robot. You're out the 30, 40 hour that it takes to charge it. With ours, we have swappable swappable batteries on the underside here. Basically, all it is removing this thumb screw. The connections are inside. And then the batteries themselves are not proprietary by any means. They're a very common RC car battery that is openly available. We charge $30 for them, but again, keep it in line with that affordability. So range, another thing we struggled with previously. So it has been tested up to 500 feet line of sight, 300 feet non-line of sight. So again, designed for the patrol officer in mind, doing those immediate clears, those, a domestic, a mental health crisis, all these calls where we, have the rooms in front of us. It's going to be able to get you easily in throughout that whole entire house or building. So plenty enough range for that as well. Okay. So yeah, basically, like I said, I tried to make this as cop proof as I can from the durability, ease of use. So this is it. And so what I'm going to do now is I'll switch it over to the view. I have a robot staged right here in my own house where I am demoing. So you'll see computer screen here, but basically here's the control upstairs in my office. That is downstairs in the basement, just so you can get an idea of what your officers would see. So if you envision having a clear house, you can send it right down the stairs, land. You'll notice a low light environment just to demonstrate the lights here. So these are going to be the top lights, which are typically how we would operate. It just floods the room, especially like these standard 8-foot ceilings, makes it look daylight. Then you have the forward facing lights. These are great for under beds, counters, all sorts of, just basically if you need to get light down and below something. So I will operate here with the the top lights. So, and we're going to I'll start off playing. You'll hear that the motors, it's because the camera itself is so close to the car that it sounds like the motors are loud. They're actually very quiet, and this thing can easily sneak into any location if it needed to. So I'll mute that here. So you'll see it operating. This is going to start off in slow mode, but now we have, I know it seems simple, but you have these boards here. Our previous robot that we paid $16,000 for couldn't even get over these. So this is just going in, and now we're pushing that one. So that is slow mode. So just very easy to maneuver. Going around, so you can get an idea. And again, to give you an idea of the lighting system, so turning that off, here's what it looks like without the lights. Here's what it looks like with the lights, and then the forward facing as well. So I can show you just basically being able to, if this door wasn't able to, or if you weren't able to fit, you can simply push that open. And again, this is very simple operation, just the one joystick. So being able to push that. If you imagine going in, again, just an alarm, a burglary, any of these situations where we would normally go head first, now your officers can send this. And we can make this actually, make that a little larger for you. So here would be, one of the big things we get told about is that a lot of agencies have drones. Obviously drones, they're great exterior operations. They're essentially unbeatable. But you get them interior wise, confined spaces. And then, obviously they're easy to down if somebody were to swat them. And then just something as simple as this door being partially cracked. A drone would not be able to force this open. And so just being able to push that open, gain access to whatever location you're going into. So I'll go out here. Without being in front of it, you can't really get the communication aspect. But if you simply envision FaceTime between two phones, on the front end of this car would be our cell phone. And should you choose to have your face displayed, let's say you have somebody in mental health crisis, you just don't want to get close for safety, but you want to be able to have a dialogue, a face-to-face dialogue. This would allow you to do that. So on the front end of this car would be my voice, my face. Or even if you're dealing with a burglary, you encounter somebody, and you'll be able to give verbal orders through through the phone itself, all while being recorded. So evidentiary wise as well. So getting an idea for some maneuvering, kind of the view that you would get. And this kind of demonstrates, being able to see underneath beds, doing searches underneath beds was always obviously with the drones, not being able to get down and into those confined spaces. With this, you'd be able to do that. Another big thing with the power of this, it can carry 25 pounds, drag 20 pounds. So if you find yourself in a situation, let's say an additional negotiations phone or some type of object you had to introduce that into a scene, this would be capable of that. So being able to push these doors. And getting an idea for what's in there. Officers could use this to clear that entire basement if this was where they were responding to. Essentially any points that the operator wasn't able to cover during this, let's say, like, for instance, a bathtub or on top of a bed, you can note those. You know that those are the locations that, potentially haven't been able to be seen. So then when your officers make entry into these locations, they're a ton more informed. They know what they're walking into. A couple scenarios that we had. For instance, a burglary of a gas station. Front door of the gas station was kicked in. Glass was everywhere. Our canine wasn't working, and the responding canine was from another agency, was a half hour out. My entire career would have been like, looks like we're just going in, guys. Because of this, my officers were able to stay out in the parking lot, take positions of cover behind their squads, send this through the front door and clear the entire gas station without ever having to make entry. So, there's numerous applications. Again, the crisis calls, for my entire career, basically, if we had someone suffering a mental health crisis, maybe a schizophrenic, a lot of times the only option was for us to go hands-on to make them safe, than to bring them somewhere. I know co-responding with social workers is becoming a bigger thing, but you're introducing an unarmed, untrained civilian into a location that could potentially be dangerous. This would allow us to basically have them anywhere off-site. They can be 10 miles away in their office. You can get them on something as simple as a FaceTime call, introduce their face, their voice up to that person in crisis, and they can start doing what they're trained to do. Meanwhile, us as officers are still getting information about, the demeanor, potential hazards, weapons, layouts in the event that we do have to go into that location. But it's all about avoiding that initial potentially violent encounter that is unfortunately too common for patrol officers. Again, this is designed for patrol officers. There are numerous tactical applications. It did replace our tactical robot. And we have them with numerous SWAT teams across the country. But the primary design was intended for the patrol officer, somebody that's never had any other option. So a couple other of the a little bit more information here. Basically, for demo attendees, we're offering it for the $29.99. That includes the 4Sight vehicle, the remote, 2 batteries, chargers for everything. So We have a 1-year manufacturer's warranty. So essentially in that first year, if anything that, through our manufacturing, anything is defective, we'll either send you the parts to replace it, all the way up to sending you a replacement car. So as of right now, we're looking at a 6 to 8 week delivery time. These are made on order and customized for the agency. So I think going back, just maybe some of the things I didn't cover. Battery life was a big one. In that fast mode that I showed you, we tested it up to just shy of an hour and 40 minutes continuous runtime. And one of the big things with that as well, when you separate the camera system from the vehicle itself, let's say you have, a barricaded subject, you want to hold a hallway, you want to just leave eyes somewhere. Previous robots or all other robots available on the market right now, because that camera system is continually running, it's burning that same robot's battery. So you're changing out robots every 30 minutes. With this, if it's parked, no lights on, just keeping eyes on the door or on location, it'll sit there all day. And we're finding agencies that are including a power pack just with their phone or with their body camera that provides numerous charges. So essentially, if you had a long, extended, day-long scene, you could leave it there with eyes for as long as you need. And then if it starts running low, you have plenty enough battery, or if you just wanted to move it, you have enough battery to bring it or move it wherever you needed to go to. So if there's any questions from anybody out there, feel free to put them up, or you can contact me directly. My email and contact information was included with the email that went out about the online demo. Otherwise, I think that is everything. If we have any other questions, again, you can contact me outside of this. If you want, any other questions answered or any other information, I can provide that. So